And a very warm welcome to One Hub Racing Season 25. This is round number 10. We're heading to the nitty-gritty part of the season, and we will be going to Mexico City, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, for the Mexico City Grand Prix. It's good to have you back here for the P1 tier, the pinnacle of One Hub Racing. I'm joined here, as per usual, by Mr. Mike Edwards. Mike, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic, Jess. Looking forward to this one. A very difficult circuit for the drivers to navigate. Of course, that middle sector is going to be very intriguing. It's all going to be about the setups and how the cars can handle that S section and making sure they have a good top speed down those long straights as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's the compromisation of downforce or straight line speed that the drivers have to negotiate tonight, and there was quite a few topics about that going in our pre-race interviews as well, so that's going to be interesting to see. But last week we were at the Circuit of the Americas and we got our first champion crowned at One Hub Racing, and we're not really surprised that it's happened, but it's happened. Haas are officially the Constructors' Champions for Season 25, and pretty much, especially towards the last few races, Mike, they have been an unstoppable force, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, you go back to round number 5, obviously, a first and fourth place finish, and since then, pretty much has been very consistent from both Tony and Casper, and that not only speaks in terms of the constructors, but also in terms of the driver standings as well, as those two are first and second.
Yes, and of course Tony winning the last few races, Casper always hanging in there as well, and it's a track that pretty much suits both drivers. I was watching a bit of practice today and Tony was looking very quick, but that does mean that with the Constructors' Championship being crowned, Tony only has to worry about one championship now, which also could be crowned tonight, and we will keep you informed of the permutations courtesy of our good friend Cam. Thank you, Cam, by the way. So all Tony needs to do is, if Tony wins with fastest lap, Lukey and Axlock are eliminated. Casper must finish 9th or 10th with fastest lap, otherwise Tony wins the championship. And Casper is still in it if Tony finishes 2nd or below. And there's also other permutations with Lukey and Axelot if things were to be decided that way. Everyone else below those two drivers are eliminated from championship contention. So it's really down to the top 4 in the championship to see if anyone could stop Tony.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it's been a rocky past couple of races for Lukey especially, and Axlock has had a bit of a topsy-turvy time in the past couple of races as well, which has allowed Tony and Casper to streak ahead in terms of the standings. But honestly, now the Constructors is wrapped up, are we going to see elbows out between the Haas teammates? That's my big question now.
Yeah, I wonder, because obviously those two are just as big of a fight to play for in the Drivers' Championship more than anyone else. And, you know, of course they don't want to hit their own teammate, but they want an accolade. They want to add to their stat. Casper has got 1 championship to his name, but he hasn't got a top tier championship. Tony has got a championship to his name, I believe, so he wants to add one as well. So either way, we're going to be adding history to these 2 drivers, and they got a really good shot of potentially, well, Tony's got a good shot of doing it tonight, but I know Casper, it needs to take some balling from Casper for it to be crowned tonight anyway. So it's more than likely going to be crowned at Silverstone, or if we're lucky, hopefully, please, Canada. Ideally, I don't want it to be decided tonight or the week after. Canada will be the best place to decide it, but you never know with this championship in P1. It is quite close between the top 2. Anything can happen. But with Lukey and Axelot, their rest of the season has got to be even more consistent than ever in order for them to stand a chance. Lukey and Axelot, they got to start picking up wins.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's no better time to actually go about picking up those wins now if you're Luki or Axlock. What they need as well, they need the likes of Tony and Casper to have a bit of a nightmare race. Of course, we have seen it in the season so far. Obviously, you think back, with Tony round number 6 and out of the DNF. Obviously with Casper, round number 4 picking up a P13, and of course round number 7 at P10. So it is possible for them to fall down the order a little bit, but they've just been in such fine form so far. Axlock and Lukey have to be on it like a car bonnet to try and close that gap.
You copied that phrasing that I love to use nearly all the time. It's great, and people when I say that phrase, they're like, huh? Yeah, people go up to me and it's really weird, but there we go. That's the championship permutations out the way. We will glance through it throughout the stream. I mean, if we get to a moment where Casper has had a bit of a moment, then we know that the championship could be crowned, but we hope that Casper has a good race in order for anything to be decided. But Mexico City, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, this is going to be the longest run into turn number 1 that we're going to see tonight, in particular in qualifying and in the race. But it's one of those tracks, Mike, where getting pole position may not be the best idea.
Yeah, absolutely not. It's such a long run down in towards the first braking zone at turn number 1. It's almost a certainty that you're going to be at least 3 wide at some point down on the run in towards the first braking zone. And pole position, not ideal around here, as plenty of cars can get into your slipstream and get that toe down into turn 1. But obviously, looking at the previous winners as well, one of the guys in the championship fight has a history of winning. He did it last season, and that is Lukey. Can he come back and do it again?
Yes, he did, and that was because, of course, he picked up hardly any penalties. And if we get safety cars towards the end of the session, if he doesn't pick up any penalties, he could still be in with a good shot as well. And of course, there's quite a few people that have won here before. Of course, Samba won last time out in this very tier. Of course, he's not racing in this tier anymore, but he's doing many great things in real life, of course. So hopefully he's doing well if you are watching. We've also got quite a few drivers that are taking their engine penalties this week. 4 drivers to be exact. So we've got Jacob, we've got Kajman, we've got Ben Harritt, and we've got Samster taking their engine penalties. I'm a bit surprised, mate. I thought more people would have taken it, because I think we've still got quite a few more people to take it.
Yeah, I mean, we was looking at the places where obviously the engine penalties would be taken. Obviously, the big one that sprung to my mind was Mexico, just because of the long run down into towards turn number 1. You can get a good slipstream and make up a fair few positions. But obviously, a lot of people took their engine penalties last time out in the Circuit of the Americas, and there's still a few more needing to be taken. And obviously, Silverstone was your prediction for a couple of engine penalties to be taken, so maybe we'll see a Silverstone for the rest of the field to take their engine penalties.
I think with Silverstone, you could overtake quite a lot. There's plenty of opportunities, of course, though, but we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the session, because of course we just got Mexico, of course. So first Grand Prix, non-championship round, was back in 1962. Ricardo Rodriguez was just 19. He was in Ferrari, and his presence in the event was enough to fill the grandstands, but unfortunately he crashed at the Fairicious prepare a harder corner, and died the result. Prepare a harder corners towards the final corner, of course. And then towards 2015, it was decided that, of course, Mexico City was born, and then a new deal was announced to secure the future of the event to at least 2022. So it's been on the calendar for quite a while, and it's been on the One Hub Racing calendar for quite a while as well. I don't know why my Elgato has decided to freeze on me just a moment, so I could see what's going on, but you guys can't on the stream, so I'm gonna have to fix that whilst we do that. But we do have 18 cars going out on the grid thus far, and I think the first driver to do so, I'm just trying to look at the map. It is Tony that's going to be doing it. So I am trying to get my Elgato. I might need to restart the stream in just a moment. Oh, no, we're all good. We're all good. I had to do all the deactivate and reactivate and all that jazz. So we are about to get cracking with some qualifying action.
Yeah, and Tony getting out on track immediately, making sure that he's the first man out. However, it's going to be interesting because obviously now Tony in prime position to pretty much make it a foregone conclusion in the Drivers' Championship. He has to be absolutely stellar in this race here tonight. And the thing is, in the past couple of races, he has been exactly that as he gets his lap underway, Jess.
Here we go then, heading towards turn number 1, 2,100 meters above sea level. Our driver's going to have to contend with tonight. Heading towards turn number 1 in 3rd gear, and then Solana corner turns 2 and 3. Keep it in 3rd gear if you want, but Tony's being very brave. He's taking it in 4th. He's had a little bit of a moment through there, so he was struggling a little bit. Now heading towards turn number 4, you're going to be in 3rd gear once more, and then some people take it in 2nd, but most people prefer to take it in 3rd. Heading towards the hairpin now, turn 6 and 7, double barreled, and you've got to be very smooth on the wheel, so we'll obviously keep an eye on that. The Etis, that is where it's caught a lot of people tonight in the P2 tier, and it's going to catch quite a lot of people out in P1 as well. He takes it very, very nicely. DRS wide open for Speed Tony as he heads towards the stadium section. You can hear the crowd cheering for a lot of our drivers, and it is just absolutely wonderful to drive around there. And I know a lot of people, if they want to watch a Mexican Grand Prix, want to go by the stadium section. Tony goes up to the line, and it is a 140.0, and Craggy just beats that by about 3/10 of a second. What a good banker lap for the Sauber driver.
Yeah, and to be honest, I was a little bit concerned for Craggy because he was very close behind Tony coming into that middle sector, and of course the dirty air effect understeering for that middle sector can be absolutely treacherous, but Craggy with a fantastic result there. Casper on a set of mediums, I want to point out, only 2/10 off Tony's time.
Yeah, on the medium tyres for Casper Klein, and he's looking very, very good. Axelock slots himself into 5th, Nick in 6th. Let's see who else is about to cross the line. Oh, now Purple in sector 2, but I think that might be out the ones around him. We also got his teammate Leroy on about to start around, but let's see what Arnold could do. P3, very, very tidy for the Red Bull driver. We've got Ben High about to go through the stadium section now. He's one of our drivers taking the engine penalty tonight, which is a 10-place grid drop for this evening's race. So let's see if Ben can do it. Up to the line he goes. And it is P10 right now in qualifying. Very tidy lap from him. Now P11 as we got more drivers improving there.
Yeah, Lukey just crossed the line going up into P7. We've got Waitsy now coming through the final couple of corners. We're going to see what the Aston Martin can do as he crosses the line. It's going to be a 15.1 up to P11. So Ben dropping down to P12. And I think we got Leroy, who's the next man on our lap right now.
Leroy then, he's now headed towards the S's. I think we could see quite a few people invalidating through the S's section tonight. So bear with us, guys, because we could see quite a few penalties on that regard. But he seems to be having no problems in the S's section thus far. We will keep an eye, of course, on the pre-race interviews to see what have they been asked this weekend heading into this. So he just about avoids the wall. You've got to be very close to the wall to get good speed. Up to line he goes, and that's P10 for him. Still 3 drivers, Mike, yet to set a lap.
Yeah, as you got Cashman and Catboy Key on outlaps right now. Cashman is about to get his lap underway. As he does have a car in front of him. Hopefully it's not going to put him off coming through the final corner to get a good run. Because
That is
it's
an
all about the
Alpine.
run.
I believe that's
Yeah,
an Alpine.
yeah, I mean, so honestly, I feel like when it comes to like Mexico, the launch you get out that final corner can really make or break your lap early on because you need such a good run out that final corner just to get and carry the speed all the way down into turn one.
Yep, you do. Honestly, if you do not get a good run in the final corner, it's really going to make or break your lap because so many people lose time in the final sector. It's like a baseball diamond, the stadium section. If you get it wrong, you're absolutely screwed. And a 28-0 for Jake in the first sector. We've seen drivers go faster than that today in the first sector. So I expect Jake to find a little bit more time on his lap later on anyway. He probably will be better in the S's sector. We'll see what wings they have run in qualifying because some people may opt to have higher wings in qualifying but lower wings in the race so they could stay within that DRS train. It was a 55-2, I believe, in the middle sector. Takes a very tight line through the final half of the stadium section. Heading towards Peloton, the corner. Sweeping around to the start-finish straight he goes. Up to the line. And that's a really solid lap for the McLaren driver. P4 as Catboy Key is also about to finish his lap, so I'll keep an eye on him. Didn't see his first sector. Sector 2 looked pretty good. What could his final sector be? Well, his final sector is looking very tidy, and that also slots him into P4 and knocks Cashman off his perch.
Yeah, absolutely. Key going up into P4. Cashman dropped down to P5. Casper about to get his lap underway, and now he's switched onto a set of the soft tyres. This will be very interesting to see what Casper's pace is like on the fastest of the compound here tonight, as he did set his previous lap time on a set of the mediums, and he was only 2 tenths off the back of his teammate and half a second off the back of Craggy. So this will be very interesting to see if Casper can snag a provisional pole position here.
We will see what Casper could do. Of course, it still looked very tidy, his lap time, even on the medium. So I would expect for to be a Haas 1-2 at some point, because I know Turney's on a lap as well. But Craggy it's really set a high benchmark here. I was not expecting him to get this early on. So we got the likes of, I think, Tony heading towards the final. Oh, he's invalid. Tony has invalid his run. So I think he's going to go again. Nobody's going to dive into the pits. Craggy has invalidated as well. So let's just keep an eye on Casper then, because his main rivals have invalidated. So this could be a good time for him to get to the 113s. Exit into the stadium section now. We've got one of the Mercedes about to finish his run as well. I believe that is Nick, because Malvin can't make it tonight. Here he comes then. I didn't see what his set time was like, so I was keeping an eye on Tony and Craggy. Up to the line he goes, and that is P2. Not that far off Craggy. That's very impressive from Casper.
Yeah, and all that was in the final sector, Jess. He was only a 10th up in the middle sector split, and he found the rest of it in the final sector. So good improvement there from Casper, and he'll know that there's a bit more opportunity to make some more time up in the middle sector, because he did get a little bit of a slide on through sector 1 and 2, so he'll definitely know that there's more time out there. So keep an eye on Casper, and keep an eye on Casper trying to close that gap down in the Drivers' Championship.
Lukey comes across the line then in P6, 1:14.077, a few thousandths quicker, well, slower than Catboy Key in P5. So pretty much everyone in the 1:14 zeros from P3 all the way down to P7, and that's going to be an interesting fight between these lot. Samsa didn't get a good run towards the final corner, so that might have costed him time, but that still slots him into P10. Not too shabby. I thought this would be like PSGL when all this is close, but no, this is not PSGL. This is One Hub Racing. Nick's just invalidated, but he's going to dive it into the pits, and with it being a lobby restart after this as well, there will be plenty of opportunities for a lot of drivers to get 4 runs in. It is possible to do so, but they've got to go really, really fast indeed. Bearish just started his run. Waitie's going towards the middle sector. Very nice through the S's. Very tidy from him. We'll see what he said. This two split comes up very soon as well. As one of the McLarens moved out of the way. I believe it was Cashman who's on his outlap. Final sector he comes then, and Waity is hoping for a great result tonight. He admitted himself earlier that he didn't have enough time to put in the practice, so he's just going to go out there for a little bit of fun. Here comes Waity up to the line, and that is P13 for the Aston Martin driver. Berry is now on a run next.
Yeah, Berra coming up to the middle sector split. Half a second improvement from Berra in that middle sector. He comes into the stadium section now. And coming through turn number 13, second gear there for Berra as he comes through the 14, 15 and now into turn 16 and 17. A little bit of a slide on the rear end, but to the line will come Berra and he's up in the P13.
P13. It's just all so tight between P1 and P13. The slightest error and that puts you near the lower half of the grid where you have a chance to fight for some points. So it's all going to come down to the smallest mistakes with these guys. This is what I love about the P1 tier. It's one of the most technical circuits on the calendar, and it's still all so close, which is really great to see. Again, it'll be nice to see what setups they have run so far, as Konzo's about to start his run, and everyone's starting to die down a little bit. And what happened, Mike?
I was just on board with Tony. He was half a second up in the middle sector, but then he invalidates through turn 12. Just took him too much inside curb.
Pressure. I think it might be down to the pressure. He could technically wrap it up tonight, but I think he's not focused on that. He really isn't focused on that. He just wants to get a good result anyway, and then the rest speaks volumes and speaks for itself, really. So huge shame for Tony, but he knows he's still got plenty of time to find. I think quite a few drivers have been validated on their third run, so they're going to come in very, very soon. Like Konzo, for example, he is also invalidated his run, and I do believe Konzo did respond to the pre-race interviews, and he said the higher downforce setup will be better when we asked about whether he wants higher downforce in the corners or pretty much a straight OP, and turn 1 and 4 will be the one to watch out, he said. And Tony, when he was asked about whether he wants straight line speed or higher downforce, he said straight line speed OP. So we know what setup Tony's going to run tonight.
Yeah, and this is where obviously the setup choices are very interesting, Jess. Obviously, do you go for the straight line speed? Of course, that will compromise you in the middle and the final sector. But if you can stay within DRS range, you are absolutely going to be flying down in towards turn number 1 and turn number 4.
Yes, I think for me, I like that balanced situation, because even though I'm going to be an absolute nightmare in the corners, the straight into turn 1, like we were saying, is so long that you would want that as well. Lukey's had a very good set to run. Apparently he's purple, but he's had a bit of a swerve in towards turn number 5, now heading towards turn 6 and 7, a little bit much more tidier there for Lukey. Of course, in his pre-race interviews, he was asked exactly the same question, and he said, well, you just have to wait and find out. So he's not teasing us anything, unfortunately. He's saying that the pace is okay, and he found that he doesn't want to risk too much to screw it up and compromise both drivers when giving the tow. So, and also when he was asked about his race pace, he feels like he wants to work on his pace later on in the stint, because that's where his tyre wear gets compromised. Up to the line he goes, P6 for Lukey.
Yeah, and now obviously Tony with as we mentioned, the pressure of getting a lap time on the board. We know Tony's got the pace to put on pole position, yes, but he's just taking a little bit too much to the curb in and invalidating his laps. And now look at this situation. Tony down in P7, all of his championship rivals ahead of him here tonight.
Yes, very, very interesting indeed for Tony. He's only got one chance to do it, but I wonder if I was Tony, would you rather get it wrapped up ASAP, or would you rather just have the pressure off you? Because I think you want to have the pressure off you ASAP, so surely we want the championship wrapped up. But it does depend on the gap. I think for Tony, his best shot of winning the title, it's got to be in 2 weeks' time when we're back in Silverstone.
I think Tony as a driver, well, he's not going to want to wait 2 weeks. He's going to want to get it wrapped up if he can here tonight. And honestly, even though like we know Tony and we know his pace, we know he can do it and get the race win. It's all going to be about what the other drivers around him are able to do. Because obviously Casper has looked in fine form in recent weeks, and Tony will know he'll have a big fight to try and drop Casper out of the championship running here tonight. But in terms of making it a straight fight between himself and his teammate, I think that's what Tony is looking at as the bare minimum here tonight.
Yeah, but he's about to start his run, so I don't jinx him too much. I'm not going to go on board with Tony's last run, because otherwise he would absolutely hate me. He was a bit more annoyed that Cam was jinxing him earlier on, but there we go. So, calm before the storm then. 1 minute and 55 seconds to go. Who is your pick for pole position? Put it in the chat. It's going to be a tough one, but I'm going to go with Casper. I feel like he can get his lap time on the board as quickly as he can, and he looks very tidy around this track. And if it's a track where he can still put himself in a championship fight, it is this track. So my money's going to go on to Casper. Casper's going to hate me if he doesn't get pole now. What's your prediction, Mr. Mike Edwards?
Honestly, I can't look past Tony. I mean, I'm staying on board with him right now, and like I can't look past. Like we see his pace improvement. Whether it's about if he can keep it on the track, or that's going to be the big question. But Tony's pace right now is electric.
Tony's looking so good. Purple sector 2, 5 tenths up, which will put him in a 1:13.5 if he could at this lap towards the final sector. This is looking impressive from our potential champion-elect, which more than likely could be crowned either next week or the week after. But we still got 3 pretty much finalists that could still give Tony a run for his money, and he goes fast. It's 1:13.553. Casper's about to start his run. So is Senna. Senna's been looking very impressive since he's rejoined One Hub Racing, and he is looking to go up there as well. Sauber currently 6th in the championship. Sauber doing a lot better than real life, it seems.
Yeah, and I think obviously with Craggy as well. Craggy, of course, joining late into the season as well. That has really helped Sauber out massively, that they got 2 very good, consistent drivers up there.
Yep, he has. Let's watch Craggy then as he heads towards the first sector. Well, in the first sector split. And it is 27.9. Oh, he's a bit squirmy through turn 5 and 6. I don't think he's going to improve on too much. Checker flag's about to drop. Let's watch one of the first of the Hasses about to finish their runs. Here he comes. Casper up to the line. Is it going to be good enough for pole? No, not quite. Only P2. What about ERT Senna? He is only a few 100s up. That would put him near his teammate. He goes up to the line. Is it going to be good enough? No, P4. Next is, I believe, one of the Alpines of Jaco. He throws himself into P15. Tony, let's see what he could do. He goes into the pit lane. Craggy has invalidated his run. So the answer is he going to get pole? No, because he invalidated. So going to attempt up in the middle sector. He only can find enough time for P5. Then we got one of the Red Bulls. Now has gone into the pit lane. Catboy Key is up next. He goes up to the line now, as well as one of the Ferraris. Catboy Key, 4th place. Very decent from him. Next is one of the Aston Martins, and then another one of the Red Bulls. What could Lukey do? He can only manage 8th spot. Cashman goes up to the line. He can't improve. That is it then. And Tony is on pole position by less than 1/10 of a second. Wow.
Yeah, and honestly, you could see that 0.5 was coming for Tony. It was just about whether or not he could keep it on track coming through into the final sector, where it was so easy for him just to take it too much of the inside curb or get too much onto the outside curb on the exit of turn 12. But Tony, again, showing his pace, showing why he's leading the Drivers' Championship, and showing why he has accumulated so many race wins so far this season.
He's pretty much got the most wins out of pretty much all 60 drivers this season. I think Lawrence being another one of those drivers in P2 as well. We could get it wrapped up next time out as well. So keep an eye on that. But 68,000 separating P1 and P2. Shame it's not 69, but there we go. So we've got Tony, Casper, Craggy, Catboy Keys, Xena, Axelot, Entity, Lukey, Kazman, and Arnold separated by less than 5/10 per second. Then we've got J. Cole, Nick, Barrett, Leroy, Samster, Konzo, Waitsy, and Ben Harriet rounding up your grid. Ben Harriet, of course, will be starting at the back anyway because he's got his engine penalty, as does a lot of our drivers. So, what a qualifying then. Mexico is always an unknown for qualifying, but they delivered.
Yeah, they definitely did deliver. And the interesting thing I'm going to be looking at when it comes to the start of this race now, Jess, is obviously there's a Haas front row lockout, but it's such a long run down into turn 1. Craggy, Catboy Key, Senna,
Yes.
Axelot, they're going to be absolutely into the slipstream, trying to get themselves ahead of the Haasses down in towards turn number 1.
Yeah, P3 and P4 is definitely the place to be around the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. You do not want to be P1. So if I were the two Haasses, I would work together on the first lap to make sure P3 and P4 don't even have a sniff of trying to get past you. So Haas are in a very good position, because if, say, there was a Haas in P1 and a McLaren in P2, let's say, or a Sauber or a Ferrari, then they'll be in a bit of spot of bother because they won't have their teammate helping each other out. So that's a very good position for them, of course. So we will keep an eye on this as it develops. 36 laps will await our drivers very soon, as we will be having, of course, a lobby restart. I've got one question to ask you about the session in general. Who's been your biggest surprise, in a good way, in the session?
In terms of just in the session, actually, just in terms of over the past couple of weeks as well, Entity has been a big shock for me over the past couple of weeks. He's really come on leaps and rounds in the latter stages of this season, and obviously you look at the start of the season. P9 round 1, P14, P11, P9 in the sprint race at Baku, and followed by a DNF, a P8 round number 5, and then obviously round number 6, P12 in the sprint to a P4, a P3 round 7. Then he had a bit of a shaky round 8, and of course last time out a P7 in the sprint and P8 in the race. Honestly, Entity, I think, has really come on leaps and bounds so far this season.
And bearing in mind, Mike, Entity wasn't in the tier at the start. At pre-season, he was P2 tier, he dominated, and me, Nick, and Lukey were like, Entity's too quick. He should be in the P1 tier. And after seeing his really good pace in P1 so far this season, and him being a really good surprise, it shows that we made the right decision. And we thought he was going to struggle. But no, he seemed to be matching up near the top guys as well. And imagine what he's going to be like next season. So we could be potentially a championship contender next season, as it will be the second season on the game cycle. More people will be used to the game. There will be quite a few closer gaps as well in the P1 tier. So there could be a little bit of unknowns going to it as well. But Entity doing well. Of course, Arnold with that race win in Brazil. He very, very impressed me there. Samster a couple of weeks ago very impressed me in Brazil with his pace in general as well, and a consistency. And I have to say Lukey as well, generally with that consistency all season, in the first half at least. It's slowly coming down towards the second half of this season, but Lukey's performing a lot better this season than in previous season. Like I said earlier, he's got to get a win in order for him to stay in championship contention, but he's going to be very happy with how the start of his season has gone.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously not only Lukey, but also for the likes of Axlock as well, stepping up from P2 last season to P1 this season. Obviously looking at some of the other drivers, I think Waitsy has done pretty decent over the course of the season. Obviously Catboy Key came in very late, and he's shown brilliant pace since coming back. And Senna as well being another one.
That's Colin's good surprise.
There's a lot of very good drives from a lot of drivers out there, and honestly I don't think anyone can walk away from the season with their heads down on the ground, because they've all done fantastically so far this season.
They've all done fantastically, and they've shown why they deserve to be here. A few drivers yet to make their mark just yet, but still plenty of rounds to pretty much make their mark. We got Mexico this week. We got a break week because, of course, Brazil, real life. Everyone will be wanting to watch Brazil. And then the week after that, we've got Silverstone. And then after that, we've got Canada to round off the season. 2 really good tracks. So make sure you stay tuned in for the rest of the season because it's going to be absolutely epic. And the drivers are definitely going to be putting on a show. I could tell you that with 36 laps awaiting our drivers this evening, anything can happen. Let's look at our rivalries for this week and who was called to our rivalries section. And no one in P1 responded, so we'll not go to the rivalries section. Craggy was called to the booth in the driver's press conference, and he was asked, last time out you got your first ever podium at One Hub with 3rd place. Firstly, congratulations. Secondly, do you think you could continue that momentum and speed into Mexico and challenge the drivers at the front again? And he said, yeah, I got the hang of this league, how this league played out now after the first 2 races, so I hope to be up on the podium consistently from now on. Craggy has been the one that's very impressing me. He got driver of the day last week as well. So I'm liking his expectations. And the key word that he mentioned, consistency, that is going to be very key for Craggy for the last few races.
Yeah, and of course, Craggy will definitely be looking at the final couple of races and as a bit of a springboard for next season if he decides to return, which we hope that he does, of course. And it's going to be incredibly interesting to see how Craggy is going to play a part in this drivers' championship battle, because he has the pace to cause a few issues for the likes of Casper, for the likes of Tony, for the likes of Axlock and Lukey. So even though Craggy's not in it, he has a hand to play in the championship.
Yes, because that is going to be the interesting part, because he may not be in the championship fight, but there's fast drivers in between the likes of Casper, Tony, Lukey and Axelot that could spoil the party and could take away points from them. Just like in real life, the Ferraris could take points off Lando Norris and Max Verstappen, and then they could be back into this as well. It's going to be very intriguing, and it could be a lot closer than we once thought. So make sure you can keep an eye on that. By the way, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button on the video on YouTube if you're watching it back. Also, hit that follow button on Twitch, and also hit that notification bell on YouTube, and follow us on X and Instagram and TikTok at One Hub Racing. But before we head to the main action, as the drivers are readying up, let's have a quick word from our sponsors. Next Level Racing, £2,000 worth of prizes on offer to our drivers. You can see them on your screen. Very, very exciting indeed. Of course, we also got another sponsor, Pure Sim Gear. The driver with the most fastest laps and poles combined will win a pair of Pure Sim Gear gloves, outdoor socks, and I might get some myself because they're going to be very, very comfy. Our partners, Vespertino, are supporting our championship apparel, and also, if you win the Go Get Tough Award, you win the Race the Dream t-shirt. And if you win One Hub Racing Driver Rankings, you get the One Hub Racing t-shirt. Our partners at SimGrids partner our community and platforms, and also the Mental Health Foundation. It's good to talk. If you are struggling right now, please speak to your family or friends. Have someone to turn to, because we don't want anyone to suffer in silence. And plus, the Mental Health Foundation is absolutely fantastic. Our sponsors are out of the way. Let's pick our winners, shall we, Mike? And top 3. I'll start with you. You don't worry, you have a chance to think about it further before you do so. Guys, put your thoughts in the chat. Who's going to be your top 3 and who do you think is going to win? We will read your answers as well very soon. But Mike, you had your chance. Who is your top 3?
I'm going to go Casper for the win.
Good shout.
I'm going to go Craggy second, and I think we could see a Senna up on the podium as well. I'm predicting Tony to have a little bit of a shaky race here tonight in terms of the championship. Maybe a 3-second penalty that knocks him off the podium, but it's going to be very interesting. I mean, that's my top 3. Jess, what about yours?
Right, I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna go with Craggy for the win, Casper second, Tony third. So I think it's the opposite for what you said, right?
No, I went Casper for the win, Craggy second, and I went Senna third.
Okay. So yeah, I've got with Craggy, Casper, Tony. So that is my prediction. I'm going to get the chat up. And by the way, well done, everybody. We've reached 400 followers on Twitch. So thank you very much to those of you that have been following us pretty much either since the beginning or even followed recently. Thank you so much for following us. It's been absolutely amazing. And I think quite a few people have followed us within the last couple of days. So thank you very much for that one. Luckily, with the adaptive weather, no wet weather on the horizon. It is just clear to light cloud to clear. So that's going to be interesting. But in the light cloud moments, Mike, it's going to be a lot easier for those drivers to manage the tyre temperatures, because on clear conditions, it is a lot harder, especially in those S's.
Yeah, you're carrying a lot of load through the S's, and they're going to overheat the tyres in the clear conditions. But yeah, as you mentioned, when there's a bit of light cloud over, it'll be a little bit more manageable. In terms of the strategy, though, Jess, this is where it's going to get interesting. I mean, what do you think the strategy will be from these guys out there?
This is going to be interesting. If I were you, soft, avoid at all costs, unless it's a really late safety car, lap 30 or lap 31. Just avoid the softs. I tried it once at the beginning of the week when I was practicing. They fall off after 2-3 laps. Mediums, they're okay, but the tyre temps go off around about 8-9 laps. So if I were the drivers, I would be brave and do a double hard stint, because the hards could last long into this race. And if there's a late safety car, well, if there's a safety car in the middle of the race, you can go on hards and go to the end of the race if you want to. But I won't be surprised if we'll see quite a few drivers put on a set of softs just to be brave and just to prove us wrong. So if I was any of the P1 drivers, I would do what I did in PT tonight and do medium, hard, hard. We could see medium, medium, hard, or medium, hard, medium, or we could see soft, medium, medium, or soft, medium, hard. This is going to be interesting today. And looking at the strategy, quite a few drivers have gone for the soft tyres. A few drivers I'm quite shocked to see go on to the soft tyres. But there we go. Let's get your tyre strategies on the screen. So our top three, Tony, Casper and Craggy, they're on the mediums. It gives us a chance to go through the grid because the engine penalties have been applied now. Kieran in fourth is on the hards. I wouldn't want to start on the halves if I were you, Kieran, but he's being brave to do so anyway, so fair enough. Senna, Hatslot and NC on the mediums, as well as Arnow, Nick, Barrett, Leroy Hasselager, Jake, Carl Samster and Ben Harriet. The bottom four are taking the engine penalties. The ones on the softs are surprising me. Waitsy, Konzo and Lukey. I don't know why they've done this, but do you think they're praying for an early safety car so they could get those softs out of the way after what they saw in P2 earlier?
Potentially as well. Another thing to keep an eye on as well is obviously the undercut around here is very good. And not only that, just being in clear air as well is also very good around this circuit. You don't want to be stuck behind the car understeering for those S's, picking up warnings and 3-second time penalties. So going on a set of softs for the likes of Lukey, Konzo and Waitsy, they could pit earlier and just have a clear air and not have any issues with dirty air from the cars in front.
Exactly, and Lukey, of course, being the host of the lobby, he gets a 2-second advantage. Pretend that you didn't hear that, but that is still a glitch on this game. I found out on Tuesday when I was hosting for Jack Kia Series. It was around Zambort and my lights went off before everybody else and I got a 2-second head start. And it caused quite a bit of chaos, but luckily the chaos happened behind me and not in front. So I was all good on that one, but my race went downhill from then. Anyway, 36 laps await our drivers, 18 drivers on to the grid, Ben Harriet and Catboy Key on the hards, a lot of people on the mediums, and we've got 3 people on the softs. Which strategy is going to prevail today? The 5 red lights are on here in the P1 tier, and it is go, 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 and Lukey gets the head start that I thought was going to happen. But out the top 2, Tony gets a cracking start. So does Craggy head towards the start finish at turn number 1. It's a long run, remember, 800 metres into turn number 1. Let's see if Craggy can do it. He's going to try at least. It's going to be very narrow towards turn number 2 and 3. He's got caught off the curb a little bit, which is going to be very tricky down the inside. But Lukey on those softs, it's going to be absolutely lightning. The centre's got to do his best to defend. He's got his teammate for company, though, in towards turn number 4. Axelot down the inside of Entity then. Very good from him, and there's a lot of squirming from one of the Sauber drivers. Casper's lost a position to Craggy. Craggy is absolutely lightning on this hairpin section, but a very clean start, it seems, from a lot of our drivers. Brilliant stuff. J. Cole's made a few plays from his engine panel, up to 13th.
Yeah, and you're already starting to see the understeer effect in the S's, and a lot of these cars very close to the rear wings of the car in front, and they're just getting dragged out a little bit wide onto the curb, and that could be an early warning for several of these drivers. But Tony, good start from him, exactly what he needed. Craggy, though, is all over the back of him, and we're going to see if Craggy's going to have the straight line speed to compete with Tony down into turn 1.
Here he comes then. DRS, of course, will not be enabled properly till sector 3, because there's only 2 detection points, and the detection point in towards the stadium section covers the start finish straight here, and then heading towards turn number 3 and 4, and of course the DRS enable sign is in during the start finish straight. So the first detection point will be the middle of the sector 2 in the S section. So that will be Craggy's first opportunity to go for the move in towards the very tricky S section, where we could see quite a few penalties so far. We've got some moves in the background. We've got Jacob versus Leroy, and we've got one of the Ferraris trying to go around the outside as well. Nick for company to Samster, and Nick have battled many a times in One Hub Racing history. Many seasons that we've had so far, 25 seasons to be exact, and these two race very, very well indeed, as Samster is behind Nick for now in P12. Jaco in 10th, but he's a few seconds behind Arno, so that scrap behind there has costed those drivers a little bit of time. So the start finish straight then. Let's keep an eye on Craggy's pace, on Tony, Casper as well. The Hatters are going to be definitely working as a team there, and so are Sauber. This Sauber's versus Hatters seems like today. Let's watch Craggy in towards turn number 1. He hasn't got that much straight line speed compared to Tony, but DRS is going to be very, very OP here. So here he comes in towards T1 on those medium tyres. Down the inside in towards the curb, but Tony has a brilliant line on the outside. Clips the curb a little bit through turn number 3 in 4th gear for Craggy. DRS enabled. He's going to get that DRS due to the fact that he was behind Tony in the stadium section. Casper goes through as well on Tony, and Tony's struggling a little bit, as Mike would have predicted. Casper's going to try and get Craggy as well in towards turn number 6. Can he do it? Can he take the lead from Craggy? The answer to that is no, but it would have been so close if he would have done it. My prediction is for Casper, he's going to get the lead in towards turn number 1 on a lap 4, but that was very tidy from Casper there.
Yeah, very tidy from Casper, getting the job done on his teammate, and of course, championship rival now. The constructors wrapped up. I want to see some defending now from Casper when it comes to Tony, because obviously they've worked very well. Yeah, exactly. They've worked so well as a team over the course of the season, which is why they've wrapped up the constructors. Now it's about the drivers' championship, and I personally want to see some elbows out between these two.
Here comes Casper. He's going to use his ERS. He hasn't got a lot to use because the ERS deployment does not last for very long, because you hardly have much battery. Here comes Tony to the inside of Craggy, but to no avail. Casper takes the lead of the Mexican Grand Prix, and Craggy's losing a bit of time, so that's going to allow Tony to gain a bit of straight line speed. Craggy won't have any DRS. Well, Tony will, on the other hand. Here will be a Haas 1-2 heading towards turn number 4 and 5. They come then. Very nice from Tony. So we got a Haas 1-2, Sauber 3-4. We got Axlog in 5th. Entity doing very well in 6th. Lukey dropping down to 7th. So I'm thinking that those soft tyres from the Lukey, Conzo and Waity are starting to wear off, unfortunately, because they're dropping off like flies compared to the ones on the medium tyres, Mike.
Yeah, and this will be where Lukey will probably be looking at the possibility of that early stop, just to make sure he gets some clear air and a nice undercut on these guys, because that is going to be heartbreaking for Lukey if he drops out of the DRS range, which he's very close to at this moment in the time.
Yep, very close, and especially around this track, if it's a very short lap, you do not want to be out the DRS, and he has read our mind very clearly that we just said that the tyres are going to drop off, and he has. So he's coming to the pit lane. I would expect him to go onto the medium tyres and then go onto a set of the hard. Nope, he's doing the opposite. He's going onto the hard tyres now, so he's going to stretch those out for a little bit longer, and then maybe either go on to another 7 mediums or hards. He does have that option if he wants to, depending on what tyre allocation he has chosen then. So, lap 5, and here comes Senna down the inside. A bit of a love tap between the two Sauber drivers. Do not fight too much here, because you're going to lose that much time. Don't forget, Sauber are P6 in the Constructors' Championship, and they could jump all the way up if they could keep those consistent battles happening. We got off one of our first 3-second time penalties from Ben Harriet and Samsterdam. Both of them have got 3-second time penalties. They'll get added to them at the end of this race. It won't get removed, of course, so they just got to keep it clean. And from experience, if you get a 3-second penalty early on in the race, you will tend to pick up a lot more. So it's just about avoiding those warnings. And someone's had a spin. That is Senna. Senna has had a spin, and that's Rocket's like, thank you very much. That's my P3 there. So he's on the podium, but Senna just got a bit too early on the throttle as Tony's dropped down to 6th. So did those two make contact?
Potentially, Tony down to 6th now, and obviously he's got Entity and Senna battling in front of him. They're side by side in towards turn number 1. Entity on the inside, Senna around the outside. Is he going to be able to make this work around the outside? He's out the inside for turn number 2, and they'll turn to the outside for turn number 3, but no job done there for Senna.
Here's Tony. Tony's going to try and go for the move. Nope, he's not going to. He's going to play it safe, which is fair enough. But these drivers have got to bear in mind, it's a very long race, 36 laps. Don't go by very quickly. So if they make a mistake now, luckily it's a 2-stop race, mandatory 2-stop. So they have quite a bit of time just to get their head set right again. If they make a mistake, they're like, right, that's happened. Let's focus now on what I'm going to do in the future. Because if you focus on what's just happened, it's going to keep letting you down throughout the entirety of the race. And sometimes I need to walk the walk sometimes, because I sometimes don't do that. But these drivers have got to do that right now. And I've just been informed by an insider that we, in the chat, that we do have Tony getting some damage. And that is why he is struggling out there. So Tony will probably pit very, very soon. And yes, he does come into the pit lane. So that is a shame. And I think Colin could tell from what we could see on the screen. So that was why. So thank you very much, Colin. But we got Craggy then, who's been challenged by Axelot, and Axelot goes down into turn 2. No, turn 1 and 2. I know Axelot's wings today, and he's running very, very low at the moment. I'm not going to say what wings he's running, but he's got straight line OP today, and that's helping him. But meanwhile, Casper leads by 9 tenths per second. And yes, Cole, I will call you Ted Kravitz from now on. Colin Kravitz. That's a nice ring to it, isn't it?
Yeah, Colin Kravitz in the chat now, keeping an eye on things on track. We love that from Colin Kravitz. But Casper, 1.1 clear of the rest of the field, so he's out of DRS range. I have a feeling though that with Craggy though in that DRS range of Axlock, if he can get the move down on Axlock down into turn 1, he'll be within DRS range of Casper.
Yes, Casper is in an advantage now because Axelot isn't able to close in on Casper. So Casper does have the overall pace, and with Tony struggling, this could bring Casper closing up to Tony in the championship, which means the championship could be decided in Canada, and they'll be very more likely to do so, which is good for us in the commentary box. But here we go then, the yellow flag, and we do have a spin.
Tony.
We do have
Tony 3-second penalty.
Tony 3-second penalty, but I think it was Leroy that's had a bit of a moment in the S's. But yeah, Tony, our first driver to pick up a penalty. That's one of the drivers I was not expecting to pick a penalty. Jacob down the inside, and Nick, by the way, up to 8. These two drivers have been fighting a lot of the season as well, and it's nice to see that those two drivers are keeping it clean. Nick's going to try and return the favour, but like I was saying earlier, he's had no DRS, so that's not going to help him one bit. But Jake down the inside towards turn number 4, but he decided enough's enough. He's not going to go for it there. There's not enough space, so he's backing off.
I'll tell you what, Jess, one driver to keep an eye on right now is that man in P7, Kieran, Catboy Key. He's on a set of the hard tyres, and as you mentioned, as we're coming to that point now where the mediums start to overheat, is now Kieran's time to shine.
Kieran is going to be on the roll here, and also keep an eye on Ben Harriet as well, because he's also on those hard compounded tyres, so we'd expect those halves to be very quick. I've had that experience earlier on. When it gets about 7-8 laps, the hards start to be the much more durable tyre, as we do have Senna that's coming into the pits. that is what I was expecting for the first few drivers to come in around about lap 8, and I think a few people will follow suit. I think if I was Craggy, I would pit next lap, and he's now under pressure from Axelock as well, and he's trying to attack from Casper. Craggy's gained a lot of that time from Casper in one lap, so we'll see what Craggy could do. In towards turn 4 they go. No harm done yet, but they can't fight too much, because otherwise the likes of Tony and Lukey that just pitted, they're going to gain roofs over them. Senna's the one to keep an eye on, though. Senna has came out of a worse position because he thought he was going to have some clear air, but no, he's got Lukey to contend with.
Yeah, Lukey having the overspeed down into turn number 1, able to get that move done. You see Tony about 4 seconds behind with that 3-second time penalty, so it's more like 7 seconds at this moment. But Tony, you can see he's going to come out once everyone makes their pit stops. He's going to be closer to the likes of Nick and Cashman than he will be to the likes of Arnold, Entity, and Axelock here.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting indeed to see how that DRS train develops. Would you rather pit in some clean air, or would you rather have that DRS train? That's some very hard decisions that the drivers have got to contend with, but expect more drivers to come into the pits, and they're not. So they're going to stretch out those mediums for a little bit longer. They're probably going to hope for a safety car. Craggy to the inside of Casper. Craggy takes the lead of the Mexico Grand Prix for now. But Casper's still going to be on the charge. So is Axelock. So is Entity. Arnell's within that train as well. Arnell's doing a very great job to stay within this. And if any of the top 4 struggle, Arnell could come back into this and fight. This is going to be very exciting. Conzo saying the fastest lap of the race so far. Senna's got past Lukey again in the background. But you can see Jacob, Nick, and Barrett all fighting with Cashman for P7. This midfield battle is going to get very, very intense here.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's going to be a battle of the pit stop phases now in the next lap or two, Jess, as the top 5 are going to be looking to make their pit stops. Of course, they're all in different teams, so they're not going to get held up by their teammates. And then, of course, you got that battle in the midfield between Cashman, Jaco, and Nick and
a bit of a love tap there again from Jaco and Nick. As Barry has something to ask to there. We got Pitters, Mike, Axelock and Craggy are in.
Yeah, and that, of course, has allowed Casper, Entity, and Arnold to continue on in this race. But I feel like the undercut around here is going to be better. Craggy going up the set of mediums.
Nick, 10-second penalty.
A heartbreak for Nick as Craggy is going to come out. Is he going to be still ahead of the likes of Senna and Lukey? And looks like Senna is going to have the overspeed on Axelock. And Lukey's going to have to sit in behind the McLaren. But Craggy, exactly what he needs to do. He's on a set of mediums, yes. And he's ahead of Senna, Axelock and Lukey here.
Yes, I do believe we started on the mediums, and there is a rule in real-life Formula 1 and on the game that you have to use at least one different tyre compound. So he's either going to have to go into the softs at the end, which is highly unlikely, or the hard. So he's not going to be on those mediums, Mike, for very, very long. Whereas everyone else will probably go onto the mediums at the end or do a double hard stint. So Craggy's going to hope that everybody else goes on the hards at the end of this race instead of the mediums, because otherwise he's going to be in a spot of bother. But for now, Craggy's going to try and increase that gap and do what he needs to do to make sure nobody can have a sniff on him. Have we got more peers? Casper's in, Entity's in, Arnell's in. That promotes Kieran to the race lead on track. And we're on lap 12 out of 36. And this is really, really great stuff to see. We've got me, Jess Ball, and Mike Edwards in at the commentary box for the P1 tier. And we got a bit squirmy exit from Ben Harry. He's struggling a little bit on those hard tyres. We can see Craggy trying to use his overtake now. He's got the battery. 203 miles an hour. He's past Casper, and the overcut has worked for Craggy and Senna, working to their advantage. Axelock is through as well, and Craggy's had a moment. Craggy has had a moment in towards turn 3. Here comes Senna. Senna's going to try and get past. Axelock in as well. Axelock's going to be like a through goes Hamilton moment, it seems, through turn number 4. Axelock's going to try and get the net race lead, and he does. Axelot is your net race leader for the Mexican Grand Prix, but for how much longer? The two Saubers are fighting, but I would expect the two Saubers to work alongside each other to make sure both of them get past Axelot, because all that squabbling, that's allowing Axelot to take the lead. I was not expecting Axelot to be leading this race, net, but he is. Great stuff on those hard tyres. Can he keep it there, though? Because Craggy is still prancing behind.
Yeah, as you got Senna and Casper battling out for a net P3. Casper through up into a net P3. You got Lukey there in a net P5 in behind these two. And all this battling has allowed Tony to get onto the back of this train once again, Jess. So Tony is back in it.
This is exciting. So Tony's not out of the woods yet. Tony could just sense that he could still get a victory if anybody else struggles. And speaking of Tony, he's going to try and go for the move on entity in towards T1. And don't forget, we got a few people that have not pitted yet. Oh, wait a minute, we got battle for the lead again. Craggy versus Axelot. Craggy round the outside in towards turn 3. He does it with ease at the moment. But through goes Casper. Casper's going to try and do a double overtake on the pair of them in towards turn 4. Can he do it? No, he can't. But at least he's got Axelot. He does a dive bomb on Craggy in towards turn 6. Can he take the lead just like we saw Axelot do a lap ago? Yes, he does. Casper is your net race leader now. The lead changes hands for another lap in a row. We saw Craggy the lap before. We saw Axelot last lap. And now it's Casper. Who's next? Senna?
Potentially. And another person that has got themselves into this train now.
Lukey's in this train as well.
Arnold. I was going to say Arnold in the train now as well. As obviously with Nick getting that 10-second time penalty, J. Cole has come out down in P13. Arnold is right in this train and is absolutely flying right now. He's on the back of Tony. Tony's on the back of Entity. We could be seeing a double overtake from Tony down towards turn 1 because Lukey's not too far in front either.
Oh, this is great. And by the way, if you're missing this great opportunity to watch it live, if you're watching it post-back, because it's absolutely incredible. Entity goes down the inside of Lukey, by the way, up into 7th place. But we still got fights in the background as well. Craggy has another opportunity to try and get past the likes of Casper, but he's not going to right now. I'm absolutely loving this. I'm keeping an eye on batteries as well. Senna has hardly used any. He's using none into the heavy braking zones, which is really, really good for him. That's what I would do. Tony has done exactly the same. So he's on around about 62%. Entity is doing the same. I think that's what most people are doing. And speaking of Senna, by the way, he's got a 3-second penalty, and so is Craggy. So we're seeing a lot of 3-second time penalties now. And I think he's just going to, I think it's a question of when most of these drivers get a penalty. Kieran, by the way, eventually comes into the pit lane, so that will promote Casper into the lead, as Casper said in the purple middle sector. And he almost got a squirm in the stadium section. I'm absolutely loving this, Mike. This is one of the races of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like Kieran's going to come out in that gap between Arnold and Nick. And he's going to be on fresh medium compounder tyres. And he's going to have clear air to push into. And honestly, yep, Senna trying to make a move on Axelot and on Craggy around the outside at turn number 1. Senna unable to get the job done on his teammate, but he does get the move done on Axelot here.
Oh, this is absolutely incredible between these two. It's a fight between the Saubers and Axelot, and we got Tony in this as well. I think Tony is doing the right thing just to play this back seat in a way as well, because he doesn't want to get involved in the scrap and he doesn't want to get front wing damage again. So he's probably liking that the front guys are squabbling, because he can still have a fight to get some really crucial points. So Casper is going to do all he can to make sure no one else has a sniff, but he has no penalties. We'll keep an eye on warnings as it progresses, and I'm sure Mike will as well, because I can't because I'm streaming. But surely a lot of people will be on one warning right now, and if you're on no warnings, how? Because I at least got one warning today. Final lap, but there we go. At least I got one warning. As they head towards the stadium section once again, a lovely helicopter shot, by the way, for our drivers. Everyone, I believe, has made one pit stop, and they will have to complete another one before the end of this race. Axelot, his opportunity to pounce now. He is the prancing horse. He's on the attack on the Sauber pairing. So is Tony as well. Tony wants well, he wants a part in this for sure, but he wants to be as high on the grid as he can. He doesn't want to be in the likes of P5 and P6 right now. He wants to be winning this race, and he's going to catch up to this train. Craggy takes the lead, by the way, from Casper. As we just saw that, there's just a lot going on. But yeah, Craggy takes the lead.
Honestly, that was such a big break for Tony right there, because it looked like Axlock had the better run on the exit to try and get the move back on Tony, but Senna had his nose on the inside of Axlock, so Axlock couldn't put the power down without making contact with Senna. So that kind of saved Tony right there and has helped him hold on to P3 in this race. Axlock, though, he's still within pouncing distance right here as Lukey picks up a 3-second time penalty.
Lukey has got a 3-second time penalty, so another one of our top runners then to do so, which will allow the ones who got no penalties to be like, hey, I could get a podium or even win this race. And there's a few drivers that can't afford to get penalties. This is attempt number 3 then for Casper. I can't count how many attempts he's got, but I think Casper's going to breeze past Craggy into the lead, and it's going to be like this for a while. Watch out for a few laps time, because that's when Casper's going to pull the trigger and increase the gap to Craggy when his medium tyres start to give up the ghost. Senna down the inside of Entity, but Senna goes off the road, and he's going to get the position back. And here comes Arnold as well. Wow, Arnold's taking advantage of both of them. You know what? You keep squabbling, I try and go for the move. I'm gutted that we didn't get all the overtake, so be honest. Arnold, if you're watching, make sure you put it on and submit the clip channel on Discord, and we could put it on the TikTok. That would be lovely, because that move, that final part of the move at least, was absolutely fantastic. Don't count Arnold for a podium, Mike.
No, absolutely not. And right now, I mean, Casper and Craggy are just holding on to that DRS range to Axlock in behind, and of course you got Tony, and now you got Arnold in the mix as well, and both Arnold and Tony similar levels of ERS. Axlock just a little bit lower by about 10%. It's gonna get very, very tasty here now, Jess.
I'm liking this. I'm really doing this. Final half of the race is going to get absolutely intense, so make sure you stay watching for all of it. Don't worry, we will finish in time ahead of the real-life Mexican Grand Prix. But don't get a coffee, do not get a drink, do not get something to eat just yet. Wait until the end of this race, because this is going to be absolutely epic. Senna down the inside of Catboy Key, by the way, is up into 7th place. And they're still going to go side by side here as well. Who's going to get the better run? Is it going to be Kieran, or is it going to be Senna? Senna's going to have another lunge through turn number 4, and now towards turn 5 and 6 coming up as well, as they're trying to make sure they manage their tyres, because we do know from experience that hard tyres can last so long in this race, so they can afford to push on those mediums compared to the ones who are still on those medium compounded tyres. Let's keep an eye on stops, by the way. Everyone has done one. No one has done a second stop yet, so everyone has got to complete at least one more. So that is going to be interesting indeed. It's going to be hard to pick driver of the day. Everyone, I would say, in the top 8 is driving absolutely incredible as well. It's just about who's going to pick up the less penalties at this stage as well, as we head towards the halfway mark of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. As we probably will see the lead change once again, as Casper with DRS should be able to get the job done on Craggy. Axlock, though, might be just a little bit too far off the back of Tony to get the move done. And if that's the case, Tony has a potential chance now to try and build that gap. He's already within a second now of Craggy, and you'll have another little look at the DRS once again when we go on to lap 20, Jess.
Can't believe this race has gone so fast already. I know I said earlier, oh my God, it will go very slowly for our drivers. It goes very quickly for us in the commentary box, and I do not want it to end. I'm so gutted that we got a break week next week, but I know a lot of you will not want to miss the Brazilian Grand Prix in real life. But I'm so gutted that these guys have got a week's break, because we're just getting started in the P1 tier. Samster is going to try and go for a move that we don't necessarily saw coming. If I were you, do not go for a move here, but these two are proving us wrong. Samster on the defensive, and he was struggling a little bit on the edges. You do not want to be behind this close in the S's, because the dirty air is going to cost you. It's going to be an absolute nightmare. I had that experience in the P2 tier, and it was awful. But in the clear air, the S's section was absolutely beautiful. I'll head toward the stadium section now, but The midfield drivers are also giving us the run for their money too. Arnaud on Axelot then. Here he comes with a DRS, but Casper is still controlling the pace right now in P1. Craggy, I think I can start to see, Mike, that those tyres are going, because I don't think he's going to go for it here.
Yeah, I think Craggy's tyres are starting to go. Obviously, Tony's tyres 5 laps older than Casper, 4 laps older than Axelot. You can see that he's definitely on the more worn tyres. You got Kieran that is closing in on those mediums. Remember, they're 5 laps old. They got a few more laps left in them. As Arnold gets a big snap of oversteer on the exit of turn number 5, and that has compromised him a little bit. And obviously, you got Entity just in the back as well, like, you know, just holding on to this train. And this train right now, Jess, is not ideal if you are the man in P2 and the man in P3 in terms of Craggy and Tony, because that 3-second time penalty that the both of them have is going to come back and haunt the pair of them.
And what happens if there's a safety car? That's going to hurt everybody with time penalties. So everyone with a time penalty is just like, please, please, don't have a safety car. And Craggy is getting the jump early, which is to be expected because those mediums were going off like a cliff and you didn't want to be losing that much time. So he's going to be the benchmark then. Onto those hard compounded tyres until the end of the race. That is his 2 stops, done and dusted. So what will the other people do? Kieran has got to be thinking about pitting very soon as well, because he is in this train and he's going to lose quite a lot of time to Craggy and that DRS train. Arnaud is going to try and go for the move on Axelot then. He's going to try for attempt 1 now, maybe? No, but he's not. He's going to be within that train, but he wants that clear air as quickly as he possibly can. Meanwhile, in front, Casper leads, but he's pretty much breaking free of Tony. He's got that 1 second window perfectly. Tony's got no DRS, and that's going to cost him because he's got Axelot really chasing him down. Axelot and Tony do not like each other, and this is going to show here tonight as well. Hopefully, they can race very clearly like they usually do. It is Axelot's time to shine now, and Tony's time to shine. Axelot needs to attack like crazy. Tony needs to defend like crazy. I can't wait.
And this is great. The setups are going to be very crucial, Jess, because Tony, as you mentioned, high top end speed, and that's exactly what he needs right now to try and close back in. But in fact, he dives into the pits. Tony's in.
Tony's in. I'm surprised. So he's gone for the harder tyre allocation then, it looks like. So we'll keep an eye on that. But we're going to keep an eye on this battle, because if I miss this one, I'm probably going to regret myself. Free wide in towards turn number 1. My, oh my, as Catboy Key gets past Axelot and Arnaud in towards second place on the road. But will it stay there? As Axelot has had a bit of a moment, a bit of a squirm. He's lost 2 places in the space of a couple of corners. What a shame for Axelot. But for Kieran, that was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and I just want to point out as well, Craggy, he did make the undercut on Tony, but I don't know if he got any issues on his outlap or maybe just struggling to warm up the tyres. Tony, though, has made the overcut work.
He has. Tony is ahead of Craggy. This could be very exciting indeed, because Tony does not want to lose on any points, but Tony's in a spot of bother. He's got some traffic. But he breezes past Samster like no tomorrow. Just before the exit, it's amazing stuff. And he's got to do it by a lot more cars than just Samson now. So he's got to do exactly the same. But he's got to keep an eye on to see if people pit. And speaking of pitters, Arnaud's in. I think he's also going to go on to accept the hard tyres like Tony and Craggy. So, Arnaud. Oh, mediums for Arnaud. I don't think that could get to the end personally, but Arnaud's going to prove us wrong here, and I like it.
Yeah, I like the little switch in the strategy right now. Obviously, a lot of the guys maybe thinking stretch out the hards an extra couple of laps, jump on a set of mediums and be on the fastest tyre to the end of the race. And obviously, you got some that are risking going in now, getting the undercut, going on a set of the hards, and just being consistent with your lap times. And right now, Tony, 20 seconds off the back of Casper, 18 seconds off the back of Catboy Key.
I will keep an eye on the pit lane loss around here as Cashman down the inside of Barrett in towards P7 then as well. But Tony does not want to get involved in this battle, I could tell you that, because otherwise he could be in a spot of bottom. We know how these guys like to race. Craggy wants to get past as well. And, oh, there was almost a bit of contact there. That was very, very tight from Craggy there. This is going to be very exciting. So watch this space, ladies and gentlemen. If I was Casper, I would think about pitting very soon, because otherwise you're just going to be stuck in this train for like a very long time. And Catboy Key and Axelot is coming in to the pit lane. Kieran, as you would expect, because those mediums were starting to give up the ghost. Axelot, he's going to go on to a set of the mediums as well. Very brave, but I like it as well. Let's see if the undercut has worked for the likes of Craggy, and will the overcut work for Tony? Let's see. Down the start finish straight. All three of them are going side by side in towards turn number 1, and they are going to be ahead of the ones that have just pitted. Jake is trying to defend like crazy, and so is Nick. He doesn't want Craggy or Tony to get past at all, but Craggy is past Tony, up into 6th place on the road. But a net lead of this race so far, but we don't know how much penalties could come into effect, so anything can happen there.
Yeah, and I think this this train right here, obviously the guys are yet to make their pit stop. So you see Nick and Craggy there banging wheels as Craggy almost turns completely in on Tony there coming through turn 6. And Tony and Craggy have lost a decent amount of time trying to go through this as Craggy loses the back end, Tony tapping the rear of the Sauber ahead. And this is where, you know, if you are Casper, if you are Entity, if you are Senna, you're going to gain a lot of time here. And Casper and Entity are now in the pits.
Yeah, Casper and Entity have gone into the pit lane for their final stop. And if these guys keep squabbling, those two could come out ahead as Ben Howard picks up another penalty. So Casper and Entity onto the medium tyres. The mediums could get to the end of this race from here, and it might be better on high fuel. So let's see if this fighting has hurted them whatsoever. It hasn't hurted as much because, well, Tony's in 3rd, but Casper just about holds on to the lead, but Tony bites back. It's a lot closer than we thought.
It is, as Tony, he is in the race lead, but he has that 3-second time penalty. Casper's on fresh medium tyres now, and obviously as the fuel depletes in their cars, those mediums are going to work even better for Casper now, because he's going to be able to take more out of those tyres in the corners. He's going to be able to have a better line of speed through all these corners now on the grippier tyres with less fuel on board.
Yeah. The lower the fuel, the better the tyres will be in these conditions. So that's why the mediums will be better now than towards the end or the beginning of the race, I should say. So this is going to be interesting indeed. Senna's still yet to pit, so is Barrett, and so is Waitsy. And I think Ben Harris still yet to do his second stop as well. Everyone else has done the 2-stop strategy. Some of them has worked more than others. For some of them, they're probably going to try and go for the fastest lap in or outside the top 10. Barrett comes into the pit lane. Barrett has done a pretty decent race from his standards, I have to say. So great job from Barrett so far as Casper goes for attempt number 2 on Tony. I think this is where we're starting to see them fighting now instead of working together. And this is what I'm liking to see right now with the constructors out of the picture. They're now fighting for themselves.
Yeah, I think right now the big issue for Tony is if Craggy and Arnold begin to fight him, and you know that they're going to try and fight him if they can, as Craggy has a little peek down the inside in turn number 6. And if these 3 drivers fight, not only can Casper get away, and he's almost a second clear already, but that will bring Kieran in, who has no penalties. That will bring Entity in. That will bring Axlock in, who also has no penalties. And that could be more detrimental to both Craggy and Tony's finishing result here.
Yeah, this could be very detrimental, so they need to get a move on with 11 laps to go of this race. Let's run through your order then. Senna is leading, but it's still yet to stop. Casper is a net race leader because he has stopped. Then it's Tony, then it's Craggy, Arnold, Kieran, Entity, as Craggy's had a moment in the final corner.
Not only that, I don't know if you saw that pop up there.
Penalty.
Tony, another 3-second time penalty.
I think that's the podium pretty much out of the picture because that DRS train is going to be growing and growing. So that is a shame for Tony. If there's a safety car, he is screwed. So for him, he's praying to the gods that there's no safety car. But at the moment, it is all good for Tony. But that's put Arnold in a P2 position.
I mean, not only Arnold in a P2 position, I think at this stage, Kieran obviously will be able to jump up to P3 and get himself a podium. He's got Axlock, and now these two are now battling for 6th and 7th on track. Are technically now battling for a potential podium position here. Obviously, Tony with an extra 3 seconds. He's only got 1.5 seconds to Craggy and 2.5 to Entity. He's right now going to drop all the way down to P7 if everyone remains as close as they are right now, Jess.
Yes, I mean, yeah, he's going to drop massively, and that's going to flip the championship on his head. It's going to close the gap to... I literally forgot to go for the championship earlier on, and I feel so bad for not doing so. But that's because there was so much going on in the qualifying session. But let me just get it up on my screen. But whilst I do that, we got Arnold, by the way, trying to fight with Tony as well. So Tony looking like the pressure is getting to him a little bit, which is a bit of a shame. But Arnold is loving his pace right now, and he's going to try and fight with Casper for the win of this race. Arnold thinks that the win in Brazil is not enough. He wants win number 2 in One Hub Racing.
Yeah, and Arnold right now potentially is Tony's best friend and best chance of making sure Casper does not gain massively on him. Right now, Entity now in clear A in P4. He's got about a 2-second gap to Tony in front of him. And on those mediums, he's going to be closing up, and he's going to be bringing Craggy and Catboy Key and Axlock along for the ride. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to get very, very tricky for Tony, and he needs Arnold to put Casper under pressure here now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please grab your popcorn, because it's going to be very spicy indeed. And I'm very annoyed that the McDonald's that are nearby me is not accepting deliveries tonight. So I'm going to have to think of other ways to cook my food. Anyway, we are on lap 29 of 36. And I think Arnold's just going to wait for a few more laps to do anything about it. Kieran, by the way, has just passed Craggy. He is losing positions left, right and centre, which can be very frustrating for him, but very good for Williams in the Constructors' battle, remember. The Constructors' battle is more important for some drivers than the drivers, because they got something to fight for at least. Williams, by the way, are 4th in the Constructors. If they could keep this up with Aston Martin not having a decent race, they could jump Aston Martin quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, wait all the way down in P14, and you got Lukey down in P9. Fortunately for Lukey, that penalty is not going to affect him massively, because he will still be ahead of J. Cole for the time being. But if he can try and get himself up into P8, it's Axlock with a 3-second time penalty, and that's Axlock's potential podium out the window. It is
out the window now, yeah. That was his first penalty, I believe, as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as it currently stands, he is still within that 3-second, the 6-second penalty of Tony, but he needs Entity to start closing in this gap, and Entity can't get close enough because of the DRS, as Craggy into the pit lane retires from the race.
Oh no, that is absolutely gutting. You do not want to give up like that, but that's allowing Arnold, Casper and Tony just to fight for the win here on track. Arnold takes the lead from Casper. Didn't really see much going on there from my side cameras. I do apologise, but Craggy has left the session. That could have been some crucial points for Craggy, but that's just fallen down the drain, sadly. If there's a safety car next lap, he probably would be killing himself, but that happens. So Arnold leads from Casper, Tony, Kieran, Entity, Axelot. I'm not going to do any maths here, because I'm going to struggle to figure out who's going to finish where.
Yeah, I mean, maths definitely not on the priority right now. If we got a Cam in the background, hopefully he's doing the maths for us and feeding that information back to us. As Arnold in the race lead, he's under pressure from Casper. Tony, though, has enough ERS to potentially go for a double overtake here, Jess.
Yeah, I think so as well. This is going to be very, very exciting, so keep an eye on this. This is a lot of ERS that these drivers are going to be trying to save right now. Entity's going to try and go for the move. We could see a move from Casper very soon as well, so keep an eye on that.
Here comes Tony.
Here comes Tony as well, so just jump the fight for the lead. Tony takes the lead from Casper into turn number 1. Beautiful stuff.
This is exactly what Tony needs now, because Arnold is getting to that point on his mediums where they're going to begin to fall away. Casper's only a lap or 2 from his tyres beginning to fall away. Tony on those hards will get to the end comfortably, and this is important because if he's able to build that gap to 3 seconds and take the race win.
Oh, he's got
Sorry,
6 seconds, don't forget. He's got
seconds, yeah.
So he's
My
screwed.
bad. Well, I mean, he can still maybe keep hold of the podium here,
Yeah.
but you never know. It depends on how quickly these mediums fall off a cliff for Casper and Arnold, and that is going to be a crucial come the end of this race.
Yes, it is going to be crucial, so sit back. Who's going to win? Well, we'll find out in 5 laps' time in Mexico City, and it's going to change the course of the championship. I will tell you the driver's standings. So Tony, after last week, is on 150 points. Casper in second on 126. The gap between these two drivers is 24 points. The gap could come down quite a bit due to Tony's 6 seconds time penalties. So Tony's got to get a move on and pass Casper, well, defend from Casper ASAP. But here comes Arnold. He's going to try and get the pair of them, but to no avail. Casper leads.
Yep, Casper in the lead, Arnold second, Tony back down to P3. And I think the Williams pairing trying to work together to try and close that gap down as best as possible and try to get themselves up into a P3, P4 finish. They got Axlock in behind and a nice little gap back to Senna, who's in a bit of no man's land. Lukey in a bit of no man's land as well. Cashman has just got through on J. Cole, but J. Cole, lovely little exit out of turn 3, and he's got the run with DRS to try and get this position back. Remember, J. Cole, no penalty, so if there is a safety car that comes out, J. Cole is going to gain massively here.
Jaco is not doing too bad. I've seen it with Larkin around Mexico as well, where we gained quite massively. A shame Larkin's not racing anymore, but whatever the Alpines do, they just tend to hardly pick any penalties, whether it's Jaco or Larkin. So it's going to come back to help them a little bit today. Shame it's no safety car, because if there was a safety car, then he would have been on the podium. But he's going to try and do it right now. Arnold and Casper are going to be switching positions for the lead, but they're going to be fighting with a few laps to go. And we know these two are fighting before in other leagues such as Jacko Car, and they fight very well. So I'm excited to see this battle develop within the last few laps.
Yeah, and obviously for Tony's sake, he's hoping that they're not going to battle too fiercely. While he is currently going to lose a place to Kieran in behind, Tony does not want to lose any more than that. And if these two battle in front of him, they go side by side, slow each other up, that's going to bring Entity, Axlock into the equation to jump Tony, and Tony could end up down in P6.
Yes, we want Tony's drop down too much, but we want this championship fight to be close enough. But it's just a shame because I predicted Tony to do well. So Tony, it's my fault, and I owe you one. I owe you one or something later on as well. But and if it could happen in these final few laps of this race, there could be some squabbles from some drivers. You never know, because see people higher up the field climb up and get the podium. We have to wait and see. We are about to start lap 34 out of 36. It is Arnold that leads. Samster picks up a 3-second time penalty. Can you just check warnings for me, please, quickly, whilst I cover this battle, as Casper takes the lead from Arnold once again.
Yep, so Casper with 1 warning to his name.
So he can afford to get another warning then if he wants to.
Yeah, Arnold has 2 warnings, but I think one of them might be a contact. So I'm just quickly confirming that in the race director.
Okay. Well, Steve, check that.
Oh, sorry, no. Arnold with 2 track limit warnings.
Oh, so Arnold cannot afford to exceed track limits once more. If he does, that will allow Tony back into contention. Actually, no, because Tony's got 6 seconds. Never mind.
Tony has picked up a 7th warning, so he's 2 away from another time penalty.
Tony, just don't exceed track limits too much. We don't want you to lose that many points.
Entity on 4 warnings, as we got Kieran here, and Kieran is, I believe, on 2 warnings to his name, so he's on the edge of it as well. And I'm gonna have a look at the Axlock real quick, and Axlock, obviously he has his penalty, and he has an invalid lap time, which I'm assuming would be for another track limit warning.
Yeah, I think so as well. As Conzo, as you just said, that has picked up one. I think Casper's playing it absolutely smart here on this penultimate lap. I think Casper has let Arnold through, thinking that Casper could have DRS both times on the final lap. That is very smart from Casper. I still think Casper could win this race, but Arnold does not want to let this slip. Arnold's probably thinking to himself, uh-oh, maybe I shouldn't have done this. I'm not going to get the toe. Or maybe he wants the toe heading towards this part of the lap here. So maybe Casper want to go for the move here. It is really hard to judge. Casper's through on Arnold. Arnold.
It's DRS chicken.
It is DRS chicken from Arnold. He knows. He can sense victory here.
Yeah, I know, but look at this gap going back to Catboy Key now.
Kieran could get third. Kieran could get third in the race. And look at Tony. Tony's going to try and help his teammate, it looks like. Here comes Tony trying to do the double overtake. This is the final lap of this race. And my excitement levels have turned up to an 11 here. Tony takes the lead away from Casper and Arnold. And that's going to hurt Arnold to pretty much fruition right now. But Arnold is hungry for the race win. Here comes Arnold. He's going to get the DRS on Tony. In towards turn number 4 now. Tony's going to try and stretch the gap for as long as he possibly can. We've also got Axelot trying to chase down Catboy Key, but that's not going to make much of a difference here. Through in towards turn 6 and 7. This is going to be nail biting stuff. It's the S's section where it's going to be nail biting for all these 3 drivers. We do have a yellow flag in the background. I believe that was one of the Alpine drivers. Has had a bit of a mare. Unfortunately, that was Ben Harriet.
Ooh.
As Casper takes P2. Casper takes P2.
I just saw that. Arnold actually backed off and gave Casper P2.
Championship. I wonder if it was for championship contention. I wonder if that's going to happen. But anyway, Tony takes the win on track. But Casper takes another win here at One Hub Racing. Arnold in P2. Kieran takes the podium. And Tony somehow takes 4th. So Tony has not lost too much in the championship fight. And NC in 5th and Axlock in 6th.
Yeah, the crucial thing for Tony then was getting into the race lead onto the final lap, because he was able to build that gap on the likes of Entity and Axlock to make sure he doesn't drop down behind the pair of them. Because, I mean, they were both within the 3 second that they needed to jump Tony. But Tony taking the lead and able to push on that final lap meant that he was able to stay ahead of both Entity and Axlock.
Yes, I think that was very smart from Tony, and he did a great job for that. We will get to pick our driver of the day very soon, but we would like to hear your thoughts in the chat on how you thought that race went as well. That was absolutely crazy. We're just waiting for Waitsy and Ben Harriet to cross the line. Waitsy first and then Ben. A race, or what could have been for those two. But Nick does get the final point. And those two cross the line. There they go. What a race, Mike Edwards.
Absolutely, and it was such a good race, and my controller has absolutely is decided to completely go on me.
So is it out of battery?
It is out of battery right at the end of the race.
My, well, luckily I'm charging mine, because otherwise mine would have run out of battery tonight. So I'm currently charging mine as we speak. So here we go then. Brilliant result for Casper, Arnold, and Kieran. And pretty much race of the season so far. I do recommend all the P1 drivers to watch this back, because it was great to cover in the commentary box. So we'll have to wait and see there. So here are your results then. Casper wins from Arnold in 2nd, Kieran in 3rd, Tony 4th, Entity 5th, Atslot 6th, Senna in 7th, J. Cole 8th, Lukey in 9th, Cashman in 10th. And we got Konzo, Nip, your final point scorers. I want to see who gets the fastest lap outside the top 10. We know Casper got it inside the top 10. Fastest lap outside the top 10 belongs to Waitsy, so he does get a point. Good on him. So we've got Bear, Samson, Waitsy, Ben Harriet, and then we got Leroy, who just misses on fastest lap point, and Craggy, your only retirement. Mike, I've just seen something in the chat that Colin has pointed out. Not going to say it on stream, but the results could be thrown back into contention here. And we could see not one, but two drivers in trouble. But we hope not. We hope it's something different. It might just been us misinterpreting it a little bit. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. But we're not going to say too much on stream.
Yeah, not great. If you are looking at that, I mean, I think for Tony, he'll definitely be looking at that, as for sure.
I'm almost certain he'll be watching the stream and be like, hang on, has this happened? But we will see anyway. But driver of the day, Mike. I know quite a lot of us have got food to eat before the Grand Prix. We want to make this short and snappy. Mike, who's your driver of the day and what would you like to ask him?
My driver of the day is going to go to Casper. And my question for him, absolutely fantastic drive from yourself here tonight. Obviously, not picking up no penalties. Was you expecting it to be that close with yourself and Arnold at the end? And how do you feel going into the final two rounds, knowing that you have closed the gap on Tony?
That is a good question. I thought you would have picked the driver that I was about to pick, which makes my pick a lot easier. So thank you, Mike. I love you. My driver of the day, it's got to be someone who kept the battles clean. He made his way through the field and he went on to finish on the podium. It is Kieran. He's going to be looking at this and he's going to be so happy about this result. And I'm very proud of him as well. He's joined the league recently once again. And his pace in the P1 tier is incredible. So my question for Kieran is, were you expecting to be in this position here tonight after qualifying down below, potentially? And then let me do it again. Sorry, it sounded weird. Were you expected to get a podium tonight after all the battles you were in? Because that was absolutely incredible from you. Well done. So that is it then for Mexico tonight. No race next week, Mike, because we got a break week, because I don't want anyone missing on Brazil. So no race next week. They will get to reset ahead of Silverstone in a few weeks' time. If Mexico was exciting, I'm expecting Silverstone to be even more exciting. The home of British motorsport, it always delivers in 1 hub racing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And it's a track that all the drivers know incredibly well. And with that, is going to come a lot of high octane action from them all, and that is for sure.
Yeah, so make sure you watch it. It will be on the 10th of November, so in 2 weeks' time. And you can also enjoy the P2 action that happened earlier on as well. That was quite cool to watch indeed. But before we go, a big thank you to all our sponsors. Next Level Racing, Pure Sim Gear, Vespertine, SimGrid, and Mental Health Foundation. We're going to let you guys enjoy the action in real life starting in about 25 minutes time. The Brazilian, not the Brazilian Grand Prix, that's next week. The Mexican Grand Prix, I wonder if they're going to have some scraps, just like this one. I hope so, but the DRS is shortened, so I'm not entirely sure. I've been Jess Ball, he's been Mike Edwards. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time for the British Grand Prix. Take care, bye-bye.